Users of Reddit, what's the closest you've come to death? My ex thought I was cheating on her back in 2017. She broke into my house and chased me around with a fucking knife. I legit saw the crazy in her eye and was scared for my life. She lost her mind and I was calling the cops while filming her with my phone. The whole time she was cheating on me. Taken a 7.62 to the chest plate and a 9mm Mauser to the helmet. Stepped on a PMN4 that wound up being too old to be viable. Regularly give the cat back scratches without paying attention when he suddenly rolls over. What was the damage on the chest hit? Cracked/bruised ribs. The anti-ballistic ceramic did its job, but it hit with enough force to knock me flat on my back. Wearing my own body weight and gear might have contributed to the damage when I landed. I was trapped in a rip current when I was 10 years old and the surf was pushing 6 feet high. I was fighting for what felt like 30 minutes but was probably more like 10-15 and making no headway. The worst part was that I could see the lifeguards but they never saw me. Almost broke my spine by falling from a slide when I was little. Passed out and woke up later in the hospital. My sister was panicked. She thought I was dead. I could have ended in a wheelchair for the rest of my life or worse, but fortunately I got no consequence. Was at a party, and a dude busted in the door, pointed a gun at the guy directly next to me, and pulled the trigger. His gun jammed, otherwise me and the other guy probably wouldn't be around today. Yes, this is serious, despite the next line you're about to read. But my ass almost killed me, literally. My disgusting 9-10-year-old self must have sat on a public toilet, cause next thing you know I got a staph infection on my butt cheek. Naturally I was embarrassed by it, so I waited until the pain was unbearable to tell my mom that something is on my butt cheek and it hurts. By then it had gotten really bad, and I got incredibly weak and sick. I went to the hospital, had a portion of my butt cheek removed. I still have a dimple to this day, and stayed for a while, but I was so sick that it genuinely almost killed me. Falling asleep on the highway going about 75, woke up in the median going about 90, at least as determined by the cops measuring skid marks. Overcorrected and flipped the car on a steep hill on the other side. Rolled 3 times, don't recommend. I was driving down a 1-lane road next to the side of a mountain cliff, on a long road trip late at night, and there was another car behind me, for a ways, and when I looked in my rear view mirror to see if they were still behind me, I saw the car's lights swerve to the side and the lights disappeared. I slowed down a lot but the car never came. We did not pass by anywhere the car could have turned off. Just the edge of that cliff. Pretty sure the person that was driving fell asleep at the wheel and plummeted to their death. In high school, we were pre-drinking at a park and heard there was a party nearby. My mate had a car but there was 2 of us. Too many to fit. My other mate and I begged him to let us go in the trunk as it was a short distance and low speed etc. He refused despite us making him feel like shit and not letting it go for a good 10 minutes. We begrudgingly walked to the bus stop and waited 30 minutes for the bus. Halfway into the bus journey we saw fire engines and ambulances surrounding a car accident. It was our mate who had skidded onto the opposite side of traffic and collided with another which completely destroyed his trunk. Like it was gone. Crushed to the backs of the rear seats. It's been 20 years since that night and I still think about it once a week. If he had just said okay, I wouldn't be here. No wife, no kids, nothing. Honestly, I was a wreck, so it's a pretty tight race. Probably a tie between bombing a hill on my short board only to find out it ended in a T intersection or pissing off a strip club full of bikers and then nearly walking into a crowd of them outside trying to smoke a cigarette. Luckily the bouncer grabbed me and pulled me back inside. When I was 5, I was at a community swimming pool. I was sitting on a floaty, the one that had 2 holes for your legs to go through. As I was floating around, one older kid decided that it would be fun to pull a prank on me, so he flipped my floaty and then my head was under the water as the floaty and I capsized. My legs got stuck in the floaty as I kept struggling to get out of it. All I could remember was feeling hopeless and the sound of the kids laughing at me for being stuck. I tried to scream for help but they kept laughing and the adults thought I was trying to do something funny. Water was going into my mouth and nose. I couldn't breathe. Finally, my aunt came and rescued me. Ever since then, I become terribly scared of deep pools and floaty. So, I worked for Qantas, an Australian airline. At the airport where I worked in the mid-90s, a strong man was harnessed to the Concorde jet to attempt a world record by pulling it along the ground. So the guy gets it going, and as it was on a slight downward slope the Concorde started to gather speed. About the rate of a brisk walk. I was cheering and happy for the guy, then I looked behind me and found the main landing gear wheels right up behind me. I was nearly crushed, so I ran forward to avoid being crushed on national TV. Now the guys who organized the event did not have anyone in the cockpit to apply the brakes, so they had some guys throw some wheel chocks under the forward landing gear. After a few attempts the forward landing gear pivoted to a 90-degree angle and turned right towards me. Nearly had to combat roll out of the way. It's all on camera but I have been unable to find the footage to this day. True story.